Fights erupted in Admiralty this afternoon when masked men rushed into a pro-democracy protest site and began dismantling barricades.
The police struggled to separate the mob from Occupy Central demonstrators in Queensway and arrested 3 people for assault and possession of weapons. ATV's News-1 reports. Chaos erupted in Queensway as masked men charged at barricades on day 16 of the mass pro-democracy protests that have paralyzed key areas of Hong Kong. It began at around 1 p.m. when a group of anti-Occupy protesters claiming to be from various organizations showed up on the main thoroughfare in Admiralty. Among them were taxi drivers and workers in the logistics sector who said their businesses have suffered because of the protests and the blockade of major streets. "Who's going to give me money to feed my family?" demanded this man as he tried to rush at the protesters. Many who want the blockades to end brought their vehicles along. Chaos reigned when some masked men similar to the ones who clashed with protesters and police in Mongkok 10 days ago used knives, scissors and pliers to cut the plastic fasteners holding metal barricades together. Confusion increased as more people arrived to join those opposing the democracy camp. Tensions ran high with flare-ups between all sides. This woman police officer got into a heated argument with Occupy protesters. A war of words erupted between the rival protesters. Police formed a human chain to keep the two groups apart. There were times when emotional protesters from both sides tried to rush at each other. Officers had to raise banners warning people not to push. After about 2 hours, police escorted the anti-Occupy crowd to Cotton Tree Drive to prevent clashes. As they were led away, Occupy protesters sang the Happy Birthday song to drown out the chants from their opponents. Calm returned, but the confrontation frightened some protesters. Others began re-erecting their metal barriers.
We're making the barricades more inconvenient to take down. Because we're here to talk about, make a message about what we believe in. And we don't think it's right that people should be attacking us because we're expressing our right to protest.
The police sent a warning to both camps.
We want to point out that reinforcing the existing obstacles or setting up new obstacles to enlarge the occupied areas and to block the roads is illegal and extremely irresponsible. Police will collect evidence for investigation on any breach of the law.
Officers today arrested 3 men aged between 18 and 47 for assault and possessing weapons. News-1, ATV News. Earlier today, scores of police officers showed up in Central and Admiralty to remove barricades.
The officers insisted they were not trying to clear out pro-democracy protesters, but Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying warns the blockades cannot last forever. The police put on a show of force as they marched towards the junction of Queensway and Queensborough Central at 7 a.m. Despite repeated warnings of imminent action to break up street blockades, pro-democracy protesters were taken by surprise and put up no resistance. Officers wasted no time cutting plastic cords binding the barricades. Cranes then removed the metal fences. The clearance enabled commuters traveling from the mid-levels to reach Central via Garden Road ahead of the morning rush hour. The police formed a human chain outside the Bank of China Tower to stop anyone from charging towards the clearance zone. But as news of the operation spread, scores of demonstrators arrived to defend another set of barricades about 100 meters away. Many brought goggles and even gas masks in case officers used pepper spray or tear gas. Protesters near Wan Chai also reinforced barriers close to Harcourt Road. There was a tense standoff between police and the group, but no altercation took place. Protesters accused the force of resorting to psychological warfare to get them off the streets. This demonstrator said the police disrespected them by sneaking to the site while they were asleep and urged the government to talk to student leaders. Over in Mongkok, protesters arrived with a cartload of wooden planks near Langham Place at around midnight. Their attempt to fortify the barricades between Portland and Argyle streets was interrupted by officers. An argument ensued. The police retreated after 5 minutes, and the group began strengthening the roadblock with bamboo scaffolding and metal bars as officers looked on. Campers on Nathan Road enjoyed a largely peaceful night, apart from hecklers who in turn were treated to a round of Happy Birthday sung by protesters. Happy birthday to you! Early this morning, the police got their way using cranes to remove planks stacked on the pavement. The move allowed northbound traffic from Portland Street to pass through, easing the gridlock in the area. The police insisted the operations were not aimed at clearing out protesters, but to relieve traffic congestion. The chief executive was less forthcoming when asked if this was the start of a full-fledged clearance. Speaking after attending a regional forum in Guangzhou, Leung Chien-ying said the government has been exercising maximum tolerance, but warned that the protests cannot carry on forever. He said the force will continue removing obstacles in areas where few people gather and restore order without engaging in confrontations.